Welcome to this explainer on zoanthids. If you've spent any time at all looking into reef keeping, you've absolutely been captivated by these incredible organisms. Commonly known in the hobby as zoas, these colony-forming soft corals bring an undeniable wow factor to any tank. But, as we're going to uncover today, keeping them is a bit of a serious balancing act. They are stunning, no doubt about it, but they hide some pretty wild chemical secrets that are absolutely fascinating to explore before you ever bring one home. I mean, we're talking bright greens, blazing oranges, deep purples, and striking reds. The visual payoff of these corals is just spectacular. A single, thriving cluster can literally make a quiet reef tank look dramatically alive and vibrant. They offer this crazy neon color palette that almost looks like it glows in the dark, which is exactly why aquarists are so drawn to them in the first place.
So, here's our roadmap for today's explainer, and we're definitely leaning into a Beauty and the Beast kind of narrative. We'll kick things off with Section 1, the beauty of zoanthids, before uncovering Section 2, the toxic reality. From there, we'll dive into Section 3, nurturing stable growth, move on to Section 4, feeding and routine maintenance, and wrap it all up with Section 5, smart tips for beginners.
Okay, jumping right into Section 1, the beauty of zoanthids, anatomy and color morphs. Let's explore what makes these organisms so highly sought after by reef keepers everywhere. It's actually really fascinating to realize how a zoanthid is structured. You see, we aren't just looking at a single entity here. They're composed of many individual polyps, all connected by this living, fleshy tissue base that literally mats over the rocks. So when you see hobbyists obsessing over collecting different, highly prized morphs, what they're really hunting for are those distinct, mesmerizing color patterns found right around the outer ring and the central mouth of those polyps.
Now, when it comes to bringing out those incredible colors, you essentially have two very different paths. On one hand, you have gradual acclimation. This is the goal, right here. Slowly increasing the lighting helps intensify their pigment expression over time. Contrast that with dramatic swings. If you expose them to sudden, harsh changes in brightness, or even temperature or chemistry, you're going to be left with faded, unhealthy polyps. The big takeaway here: don't chase maximum brightness on day one. Find the sweet spot and just ramp it up slowly.
All right, we've covered the beauty, but now we need to pivot pretty sharply. Section 2, the toxic reality, handling the beast. It's time to shift gears because keeping these corals requires some serious, non-negotiable caution. Let's talk about cnidarian defense chemistry. Yeah, it sounds intimidating. Because, frankly, it absolutely is. Out in the wild, zoanthids utilize a super potent mix of irritants and toxins for protection and to secure their real estate on the crowded reef. It's wild to think about, but these aren't just pretty decorations. They are living animals actively armed with intense chemical defenses. And because of that intense chemistry, handling them safely is absolutely crucial. You want to strictly avoid getting any cank water or polyp tissue on your skin, in your eyes, or anywhere near open cuts. Thoroughly washing your hands after any tank maintenance is just a must. Actually, it's pretty interesting how many experienced reef keepers won't even touch them without gloves on. They rely on dedicated tools just for fragging these specific corals to completely limit their exposure. But here's the thing. That toxicity doesn't just affect you. It impacts your entire tank ecosystem. Zoanthids actively release compounds that can inhibit nearby organisms. We're talking literal coral warfare here. Because of this, they demand adequate spacing. If things get too crowded, or if a zoanthid rapidly dies off, those toxins can spike. This is exactly why strong water filtration and quarantining new frags is so incredibly important to protect your main display tank. Let's move on to Section 3, nurturing stable growth. Let's see how we can actually tame these corals through proper environmental setup. When it comes to water quality, the results you see are incredibly black and white. In a stable tank, zoanthids reward you with steady growth and beautiful wide polyp expansion. But if your tank is fluctuating, say it's bouncing around in its cycle or parameters, they will just retract, close up tightly, and slowly fail. They might hold on for a little bit, but they definitely won't thrive. So, to achieve that much-needed stability, you really have to focus on the holy trinity of your tank. Number 1, salinity. Number 2, alkalinity. And number 3, temperature. Getting these 3 perfectly steady is paramount. It's so easy to obsess over lights. Well, actually, consistent water quality makes the biggest difference. Pair that stability with moderate to strong lighting and gentle, consistent water flow. Think of it like this. You want a nice breeze that delivers nutrients, not a hurricane that physically rips the polyps right off the rocks. Transitioning into Section 4, feeding and routine maintenance. Now that we know the environment they need, let's look at the daily care that keeps your colony thriving long-term. So, here is a question that trips up almost everyone when they first start out in the hobby. Do you actually need to feed your zoanthids? Just take a second and think about what an animal like this really needs to survive. Surprisingly enough, their diet is primarily based on photosynthesis. That's how they get the vast bulk of their energy. Now, having said that, many successful hobbyists do provide occasional supplementation. But if you choose to feed them with reef-safe particulate foods, the golden rule is this: go light and go regular. Dumping large amounts of food in occasionally just pollutes the water and harms your other corals, even if your tough little zoas happen to tolerate the mess. Keeping them healthy really just comes down to a super simple routine. First up, keep detritus from settling directly under that living mat. Second, carefully pluck away any nuisance algae that's trying to choke them out. And third, always watch for signs of stress. Keep an eye out for polyps that stay closed for days at a time, tissue that seems to be losing its color, or any damaged centers. These quick visual checks are absolutely vital. Just remember to use strict care when working anywhere near that mat. All right, let's consolidate everything we've learned into a practical, step-by-step strategy. Section 5, Smart Tips for Beginners. If you're just starting out, this right here is your blueprint. I know it is incredibly tempting to just go out and buy every colorful morph you see all at once, but resist that urge. Start small. Add just one single compatible frog to your fully stable tank. Then observe it carefully for a few weeks. Watch how it expands, monitor its overall health. You should only expand your collection after you've totally nailed it with that first single frog. I promise you, patience pays off here. To wrap things up today, there's a fantastic quote from our source material that says, "Zoanthids are often rewarding, but the healthiest colonies typically come from cautious acclimation and patient, consistent care." I think that perfectly summarizes the whole balance of this hobby. They are undeniably gorgeous, but they command immense respect from the aquarist. So I'll leave you with one final thought to ponder before you head down to your local reef shop. Is your reef tank stable enough right now to handle the responsibility of the beautiful yet beastly zoanthid?